Hello from Super League HQ. Apologies for the very late start, but we've encountered something of a situation, which is why it's taken me so long. Unfortunately, due to my own ineptitude, as far as I can tell, trying to do too many things at once, recording a podcast and streaming the greatest Champ Manager content the world has ever known at the same time could only work so long. And I've managed to corrupt the save somehow. I've managed to go back to roughly a quarter way through the season, and now we have a choice to make. We either basically replay this whole season from, where are we, game week sort of 6-ish, I think, or we scrap it right now, do the redraft, and look to go again. I can only apologise. I've got Mr. Edwards, Mr. Duggan, and also Scotty with me. Guys, first of all, apologies. It's my own ineptitude that seems to have caused this. What do you think we do? Do we start again with everything that's happened, or do we just scrap it now and start a new one?
Well, I was a bit confused when you loaded the fixtures up. I was the first one in the chat, and the fixtures that was on the screen weren't the fixtures that I was expecting tonight. And then obviously you've just explained the situation. I think, well, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if we replay it from where we are now, there's no guarantee that it's going to play out as it has done. And that's going to upset some people. But on the flip side of that, I think everybody's ready for a redraft.
It's a fair point.
I think the first thing I would say, Fifey, is we've just kind of watched what you've done, and you haven't done anything that I wouldn't do if I was running kind of like OBS and stuff. And obviously, like, I've given you a hand with streams and stuff. So I don't think it's your fault at all. But I
do feel somewhat responsible as the custodian. You know, I'll be honest to those who, you know, you three have witnessed what I've done this last little bit. But obviously, so I finished work at 5. And with it being the summer holidays, there's a lack of traffic. I got in my house at 5:20. We're now at 10:05. I've not had any dinner. And I've basically been on this, setting up the team since 6:25. And then it all just went sort of kabang on me.
I mean, my suggestion would be that anyone outside the top 6 at the minute, kind of like their view takes second precedent to anyone who was in the top 6, because really those people that have been fucked. So, like for me, I'm happy whatever everybody else decides.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Fifey, you've obviously done me a massive favour, because my season was horrendous anyway. So you put me out of my misery. So I second that. I think anyone who's actually was in the race can have more of an opinion than the likes of me, who's just been a passenger for this one.
I'm just having a look in the chat, and thank you to those who have joined so late on a Friday night. I appreciate you've all got much more interesting things to do than be watching Super League, and this obviously isn't the news you would have wanted. I can see Mike's here, and I appreciate his time as always. I appreciate your kind comments, Alf, about how it's easily done. Hand the title to Haggis and redraft. Swan, on the other hand, just thinks it's hilarious. Rob, if this is happening and Campbell getting bummed is wonderful. Jens has been calling for a redraft for weeks anyway. And this is probably the ideal news for him while he's on holiday. I think the only fair thing to do, no title for Haggis, says Rob. I think the only fair thing to do, guys, we're 6 minutes or so into this, and I have to applaud you for the work, but is to confirm that we are purely messing around, and the Super League is ready to go. Game week 24.
Let's go live to Edinburgh right now, because Campbell it popped up that he was typing in a chat there, and he didn't type anything, so he's probably just brayed fuck out of himself in his front living room.
No, that's just his internet connection.
Rob booing the fact that Super League is working fine. Knew it, you prick, says Jens. Yes, no, the Super League is fine. The last stream was a bit dodgy because I have been recording a podcast for Fools Rush In, and I was trying to stream this while uploading that at the same time. Pfeiffer, you were 10 minutes early. Sorry, mate. But guys, so I have actually got, this isn't pre-recorded, I have got Ian, I have got Duggan, and I have got Scott here on the Zoom. Look, I mean, I'm delighted to have the three of you. It's not quite the three I initially thought was coming on when Duggan said it'd be me, Dimble, and Steve, but, you know, everyone has the link and are welcome to join when they were destroying my holiday, says Jens.
Get amongst it.
10
It's
more
been a while
minutes
since
would have
we've
been
had
amazing
a.
scenes. I would have loved to have done 10 more minutes, Mike, but the one truth I did say is I haven't actually had any dinner. So I am looking to get this show through so that I can eat something before Saturday comes, ideally. And here is Dimble just entering the chat, so he will be part of the commentary team very soon. Jens has asked to go first, so Ghost Games permitting, guys. We will go to Halls first. Evening, Dimble.
Evening, you cunts.
Did we have you?
Yeah, I wasn't that bothered, but I did believe you. Yeah, I did believe you. Yeah. Well, look, originally I didn't when Duggan was messaging, but when Fifey started talking, he sounded quite reliable. I thought he was telling the truth. So.
That's my GCSE drama background.
Very good.
Thank you.
Now it's only right one of us goes to take that title off Haggis anyway.
Right, let's get straight into the action. We've got Halls at home to Loco as Jens, who is already destroying his holiday. He lines up with a slight alteration. Tristan comes in for Mido and makes a 2 up top with Saviola in behind. We haven't got Greavesy on comms either, so I will let, as you were first on, Scott, you can be first to comment. What do you make of the Halls team tonight?
Well, just give me 1 second.
That's okay. While Scott sorts his connection out, it's also worth noting Contra back in at right wing back as well for Halls tonight.
Yeah, look, it's a strong side and it's a strong formation, one that's done well. I think pretty much what took Steve to the title last season.
Yep.
Pretty much looks solid 1 to 11. Maybe a question mark over Tristan. Zizi Roberts has scored goals since he's come into the league. That 4 across the midfield is strong. 2 solid centre backs. Costanzo's a little bit hit and miss, but when he's hit, he's very good. Saviola's done well since he went to Hulls. Incredibly strong side and a team in good form.
And when you look at the league table, with Halls currently 5th, Loco in 7th, so close to the end of the season, the 3-point gap between them. Are we saying, and we'll come on to Loco in a minute, this is kind of avoid defeats where possible for Halls, but must win for Loco, do you reckon?
I would say that Loco will take a draw, if I'm honest. Okay. Away from home, they've not got a positive goal difference. They don't score that many goals against a Hull side that are packed with talent and ability to score goals. I think that Greavesy would take a draw. Okay.
Ian, let's come to you. Loco have gone with what they've called their devilish formation. The other Ian, I would have believed it if any of you had told me the stream was actually on, amateurs. Well, I did tell you the stream was on. I even sent 2 links and a reminder in the chat. It's just the time gap between Leicester and Edinburgh seems to be 4 hours where you're involved, mate. Anyway, Mr. Edwards, this is quite adventurous by Loco standards, isn't it?
Well, he's certainly, out of the 2 lineups, he's the more attacking lineup. I mean, he's got no one in the middle where, I mean, fair play first to Jens. I think he's at second bite of the cherry at getting Van Bommel playing, and he's got him playing. So he might have a little bit of space there to operate in as we got the 3 AMCs behind Sahar. I don't think, since all this transfer activity, I don't think Greavesy knows who his best bunch are at the top now. I mean, Crespo on the bench is brave. But yeah, apart from that gap in the middle, they kind of match each other up. So, you know, he's probably hoping that, looking at these 2 tonight, that maybe that extra guy up top, you know, pushes him over the edge. I was, before you showed us this, going to say that, yeah, I was going to agree with Scott and say that he would have been happy with a draw, because obviously we know that first and foremost he tries not to lose before he tries to win. But yeah, there's a sneaky one here where I think he looks like he is trying to actually win, and he's maybe praying for another 9 or a 10 from ex-Burn Chris Kirkland.
Well, just a couple of players I wanted to mention. Duggan, Louis Saha was subject to a few bids during the reserve week. Trying to think up a creative name for that, but I haven't managed to do so. He signed for Loco. He's playing loan up top. Do you think he's playing there because he signed from Haggis as opposed to Greaves you actually want him to play him? Because, as Ian said, Crespo is on the bench.
No, I think Greavesy is a really good example, unfortunately, this season of how kind of all of us can be the masters of our own demise. I think Greavesy won that title first season and kind of, there was a lovely, brilliant narrative around him and we all loved it and bought into it, pantomime villain, Captain Anacho, all that sort of stuff. But actually, he scrambled this season to do what he probably should have done 2 seasons ago and get some of the shite out. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes, Dimble's kind of flashing spreadsheet quote, the game will do what it wants to do sometimes. And I think Greavesy probably believed his own hype a little bit too much. And I think Swan said last week he's the only team that's got consistently worse every season.
He did.
And, the things that Greavesy's tried to change this season, are great, and I respect it. He wants to be on the front foot and all that sort of stuff. Had he have done it 2 seasons earlier, he probably would have got more than one title, I reckon, because he's better than most of us at the game.
Yeah. And Dimble, when you came in at Churchtown, you kind of proved a point with Headman in goal. Obviously, you've had Khan since, and he's done remarkably well. Ian mentioned him, and it is only a couple of games, but Chris Kirkland's come in 2 games, but a 9.5 average from those 2 games.
Yeah, some of these emergency keepers are doing really, really good jobs. Like there's been Molina for a stage, Vesterveld's been unbelievable, and Kirkland looks like he's going to do the same thing now. But the keeper position's a proper dodgy one, isn't it? And it's only a matter of time before someone like this is going to throw a 5 in. You would just hope when you see that team sheet and you've got Kirkland against you, you're more confident because you feel like you could easily throw the game.
Let's quickly go down the line then as you appear on my screen for score predictions, starting with Mr. Edwards.
I go away win 2-1.
Duggan?
Home win 3-1.
Dimble?
2-0 home win.
And Scott?
4-0 home win.
Let's see which of you is correct. And Hall's already 1-0 up in just 2 minutes. An incredible start for the home side. And then a lot of time went past without much happening at all. We're already at 34 minutes. And it's 2-0 to the home side. Saviola with his 5th of the season. And Del Vecchio makes it 2-1. No, Saha was offside. Hall's now come looking for a 3rd, but don't quite get it. And in roughly 40 seconds of actual time, we have done 45 minutes of game time. Let's speak to Duggan first. Hall's 2-0 up at the break.
Yeah, and I think probably the best thing I can say about Hools is we all think that this team's miles better than Jens thinks it is. And you still factor in he's had Davy Collins who's flopped this season, he's had Archie Back that's flopped this season, but actually he's still banging them in for fun and looks, I think I said 2nd, 3rd game of the season, he's back kind of 6 is the best it's looked for me in the whole save for Hools. Was it on that sub-keeper crack, was it Pelizzoli that came in for Stee and won the title, and he was a kind of an emergency backup keeper?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great shout as well, that. Let's pull up the Hull stats and let Scott discuss the home side. You got to talk about them in the build-up. They started like a train and then looked fairly comfortable throughout.
Yeah, pretty solid from the centre halves. Not a great deal of action in terms of throughout the 45 minutes from either side, really, but Hull's have been clinical. Saviola's continued to score. They've kept a clean sheet, albeit Loco have had a goal disallowed, but Jens won't be too bothered about ratings or anything like that at this point. He'll just be pleased that the scoreline's 2-0.
No, absolutely. And I will now just pull up the away sides for Dimble, because I know that Greavesy did send me some instructions, so I just need to consult those. What did you make? They've obviously had the goal disallowed. When you look at this team, have they got enough about them to get back into it, Dimble?
I don't think so, no. They've got some ropey stuff on that pitch now, and yeah, I don't know if his instructions involve bringing Crespo on, but he desperately needs him.
Well, the instructions is I'm busy tonight, so if you do have the show, please can I have no halftime subs unless injured, and Crespo for Saha at 60 minutes. So that is what we shall do.
Ify, can I just ask you dead quick? When Greavesy did that Crespo and Veron deal, did you think that was going to kind of see him all right, or where were you on kind of that side of the fence?
So looking at them as players on paper, yes, that should do the job. I will always believe, much like others, that Greavesy does know the dark arts of the game, and he's capable of getting, he's like the Big Sam of the Super League. He's always capable of getting a result, isn't he? I think Veron is a great player in the wrong team. And what I do think he's good at is he will get a striker like Montella did, scoring goals. So Crespo could have easily done that. I think Veron is the interesting one. I think he's a great player in the wrong team.
Yeah. Swanee, if you're listening in, if you can pull up for us in the chat how many goals Greavesy scored since Montella left compared to when he was there, I think that would be interesting.
So instantly Loco get an injury, and I'm tempted to say that Ludovic Gulli is the obvious replacement there as a winger. Would we be in agreement that that's
2-0
correct?
down, 2-0 down, Chuck Julian.
Excellent. When did he leave? Asks Swanee.
Was it game week 15? Would it be in the transfer window, or was it game week 20? Game week 15. It was. He transferred Montella to me for.
Yeah, it would have been 15.
Game week 15. So like an average points per game since then, or goals per game would be good.
We have kicked off the second half. The substitutes already happened. Loco are trying to create a little bit, but Bulls still look like they're having plenty of it themselves. We reached the hour mark. And Diego Tristan makes it 3-0 to the home side, and that should all but wrap it up. I think, Dimble, was it you that said that Loco would take a draw? They are certainly not going to get this now.
It was somebody else, but Greavesy would have done, yeah, and he won't be doing it now, will he?
I'm clearly not adept to having 4 co-commentators. I can't remember who said what.
Don't worry about it. Let's just go with it. Don't worry about it.
We're having a great time, mate. Don't worry about
it. Let's pull up the condition. 3-0 up. I know you're not really a fan of subs, although that's had to change this year, Ian. 3-0 up, would you be bringing Gerrard off an hour in, 79%?
I mean, you can do. You got the ready-made replacement with Sean Davis, haven't you? I don't know whether Jens is available to make that change.
Jens is about. He's able to watch his game. That's why he has to go first.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. I mean, if you look at the ratings and the contribution Contras had to make, there seems to be next to no action going on down that end of the pitch anyway. So, you could probably stick anyone down there and see the game out.
So we've got a double change coming for Jens. It is Davis for Gerrard, and we've also got Sol Campbell coming on for Rustico. And then, what did I say? Crespo for Saha on 60 minutes. There we go.
A little bit too late, probably, yeah.
So we...
Club as well, isn't he?
And there's a yellow card. Veron with a set piece. There'll be absolutely no need to slow this down, I don't think, unless Loco... Oh, wow, 20 minutes go by with absolutely nothing happening. And Halls go into injury time. Are they going to keep a clean sheet? They are. And Zizi Roberts misses the chance for 4. Scott was very close with his prediction. Swan's already got them stats for you, Duggan.
Well played, Halls.
And Halls almost cement their place in the top 6 with a fantastic 3-0 win. I mean, Ian, if you look at the stats, a lot of them very equal. They've created equal amount of chances. Their pass completions the same. Their tackle percentages aren't too different. What is interesting is at halftime, Loco were dominating in the air, and Halls completely turned it round.
Yeah, but I mean, it never felt like an even game, did it? Text certainly didn't show an even game. What we saw with the text, and I think when you combine tackles won and headers won, they're dominating all the challenges. So, the momentum was with them for the whole match, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Doug, and let's have a look at the Hull side. Kevin Hoffland getting man of the match despite winning 3-0. Defenders putting in a shift. And when Jens signed him in the last sort of big transfer window we did, he said that he was going to be the difference maker, didn't he?
Yeah, and just having that settled back six, I think we all know how important that 2-4 is. And Huls did go through a bit of a spell early doors of, in terms of the save, kind of leaking goals for fun for a little while. But yeah, I think nobody's going to want to face Jens away from home in that playoff run.
Absolutely not. And there's your follow-up stats in the chat as well. Scott, you've spent every opportunity talking about Hulls that I've given you so far, so you can conclude tonight's opening game by looking at what are some truly awful ratings from Lokomotiv Boston.
Yeah, and I think after this result, they're really going to struggle now to make the 6 based on the points difference and the fact that they're going to have to go and try and win games and score goals, and that's where they've struggled. They've only scored about 22 goals so far, less than a goal a game.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, 22 goals exactly.
Albeit the tactic for tonight for Loco looks relatively attacking with those 4 players in the opposition third, but I just think we've got some square pegs in round holes and players that are not playing in their positions where they're most effective, which is costing them. To leave Crespo out,
it's such a crucial game.
Yeah, to leave Crespo out, I think if you're going to get the best out of Ron, he's got to be playing centre midfield. I just think that they're probably going to leave themselves too much to do now.
Well, congratulations to Hulls and Jens, who can now go and enjoy his holiday again. And we move on to game 2, which sees Macca's Fulchester entertain Mr. Edwards' Northern Burn. So let's bring you straight back in, sir. You've gone with a very interesting looking tactic for this game.
Yeah, by default, not by design, as I mentioned on Twitter. Obviously, I let Hoffland go to Hulls, which worked out well initially because back started well, but I expected Cannavaro was only supposed to be out for a short period of time. He seems to have missed about 4 or 5 games.
Well, every time he comes back, I think he's got injured, then suspended again. Yeah,
and then Okoronkwo is now not available to me, which actually only leaves me one recognised centre back. So apart from, I could have put Emerton alongside him, but I mean, I might as well play one at the back if I'm going to be playing Emerton at centre back anyway.
Yep.
This has worked quite well at home over the last couple of days as I've been trying to figure stuff out. So we'll just give it a go. I don't hold out much hope, but we'll give it a go.
And Brozek in support of back, with Owen on the bench, Defoe still out, of course, no place for Zlatan.
But yeah, that rubs salt in at the wound because Defoe come in, hit the ground running, and he's not available to me either. Hence back up top. Owen is kind of hasn't really done much for me since he's come in. So, back with his near at the top of the shots on target stats in the league, I thought I'd stick him up there and see what he can do.
And you're fighting desperately hard to obviously get off the bottom of the table. Tonight, you're 2 points behind Sloths with 3 games to play, including this one. To be in that position, but with Cliver out for essentially still 3 months for all intensive purposes, and you had to react by bringing in Defoe and Ibrahimovic just from the other team's reserves. It's not ideal, is it?
It's not ideal, but the horse has bolted anyway, hasn't it? And it's not like Cliver was pulling up any trees when he was when he was fit. So is he a massive loss? I don't know. Probably not, because Defoe come in and done a better job.
And just before we have a look at Fulchester, we were mentioning goalkeepers earlier, and Dimble mentioned him. Talk to me about what Sander Westerveld's performance is, and why you think all of a sudden, having not played, with only 5 appearances in a few years, all of a sudden he's had 10 appearances this year and is actually performing very well despite your lowly position.
Well, I had Toldo, didn't I? Toldo is an absolute clutch goalkeeper, and he's he's single-handedly got me through a couple of playoff matches. I think he's probably just coming towards the end of his sort of top level play now. He threw in a couple of stinkers. I mean, Westerveld, great average ratings because he's making a lot of saves. He's doing really well, but I mean, he's getting a lot of practice. We are under the cosh in a lot of games, and it's a strange one. We seem to win the games that we don't necessarily dominate, and we lose the games that we do. So, yeah,
Dimble, let's talk Fulchester then. They've got their queue, of course, already, and are now just trying to make sure they secure second place. The likes of yourselves and Stuart Dudley chasing them down for all it's worth the last couple of games. They alter the tactics slightly, go back to what they first set up against Dragons previously. They've got no Nicky Butt tonight, which is crucial for them.
It is, yeah. And how's he managed to change his tactic in the state he's been in the last week or so? That's quite impressive.
With the message that I got, he's changed it with great difficulty. And then I nearly completely misread what he wanted as well.
No, it looks like a strong team, but it's obviously a big miss. But yeah, he's got a good two, so he's not bad. Zanetti's shit in the middle, so he'll struggle there. I feel like Van der Laan's done well when he's played, so I'm surprised to see him on the bench. But he hasn't done that well, has he? So I misread that. But yeah, it's a strong team all around. He's got good attacking players and very strong defence. I think his midfield looks a lot weaker there than it has done in the past. And from that point of view, I think Fulchester are a little bit vulnerable. So if they do lose tonight, me or Steve or maybe even Jens could chase him down. But
on the flip side of that, if my maths is right, a win tonight guarantees them a top two finish, is that?
Exactly, yeah. I think it does, doesn't it? Or does it need one more?
One more.
Yeah, it basically guarantees it, doesn't it? I don't think me or Steve are going to get 9 from 9 points. It's one of them where I think momentum kind of gets sucked out, or he's pretty much guaranteed second, and then obviously we know what that means for the chances of winning it.
Absolutely. Let's go down the line again then. Is Scott there? I think I can see him. Yeah, there he is. Scott, we'll go reverse order this time. Fulchester versus Burn.
I think it'll be a tight game. I think Fulchester will win 1-0 or 2-0. I think their wide plays will be key.
Okay. Dimble?
I'm going to say a hopeful 1-1 for me.
Okay. Duggan?
2-1 Fulchester.
Ian, by all means, you can abstain as it's your team.
Yeah, I'll sit here and keep quiet. I don't hope for too much, and I'm going to remain in my chair for the first time.
I was going to say, you've normally stood up by now.
I'm sat in my undies, mate, so I won't subject you to it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's kick this one off. And Fulchester looking to start quickly, but then on the counter, Northern Burn managed to come forward. Neither side scoring in the opening 10 in this game. Both sides having a go. Fulchester look like they're just getting the back of it. And Zanetti, who's shit, as per Dimble, has opened the scoring on 18 minutes.
My opinion stands.
And there's a red card for Medina. So Burn, who were being very brave, playing one at the back with 3 DMs. Are you just going to go one at the back with 2 DMs, Ian? Or
let's stick Emerton back where Medina was. Give him a diagonal arrow.
Or that big?
No, little one, mate. And let's make Robin's arrow once shorter.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
Evening Dan, who's joined in the chat. No Macca live tonight, so he won't be altering anything. Let's carry on and see if they can continue to pull ahead now that they have the goal and the extra man. No, it's Aymar levelling things up for Northern Burn. And the 10 men pull it back level. Figo and Shevchenko getting involved. Nedved heavily involved as well. Fulchester yet to retake the lead. And there is the half-time whistle. Scott, it was all looking good for Fulchester They were a goal up, a man up, and then Northern Burn pulled it back.
Yeah, I don't think Fulchester kicked on after they went 1-0 up and after the sending off. And Northern Burn, created a couple of chances and took one. I think Ian will be absolutely delighted to have got back into that because, Fulchester are a difficult team to beat, difficult team to break down, and Ian will no doubt tell us that he was probably thinking that he wasn't going to score in this game. So to get one back so soon after the red card, he'll be pleased. I think, look, you'd expect Fulchester to come on strong second half, but credit to Ian for his tactical change and getting back in it.
Absolutely. Just bringing up the home side stats, Duggan. Scott mentioned there you'd expect them to kick on second half, which they didn't quite do in the second half of that first half. But ratings-wise, it looks relatively strong. They just need a little bit more, really, don't they?
Yeah, probably struggling a little bit with that kind of. I know he's playing one at the back, but there's a decent amount of bodies across that midfield and in that DM line for Burn. So yeah, one more is probably enough for Fulchester, but fair play to Burn and fair play to Ian for the changes he made, and he's got back into it.
And Macca has joined the chat just to tell us that he's in trouble with the wife. Now, if the story as I've had it text to me is correct, I can fully understand why he would be. I imagine it's probably public knowledge anyway, but if not, I'm sure we'll discuss it off air anyway. But we'll leave the stats up just for a second so Matt can make any decisions. Ian, I'll tick over to yours in a minute, but pleased to see your side pull the goal back.
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously fearing the worst. 24 minutes, 10 men, we're already pretty weak, but that doesn't look too bad. I mean, there's more sixes than I would probably want, but yeah, if I can, what I'll do, mate, is if you don't mind, I'll swap back and Brozek, and I'll bring Owen on for Brozek, please.
That's no problem at all. Macca saying roll and confirming £150 for a locksmith. That's all he's dared to comment thus far. Let's roll to 60 minutes then and see how this one plays out. Absolutely nothing in the first 5 minutes. Unsurprising to see more blue and white than white and orange. Although when it is white and orange, it is the players Ian wants to see. But there's Comandini making it 2-1 to the home side. And then 10 minutes flies by with nothing happening. Will the game allow me to pause it before anything else happens? Yes. Mr. Flight to Inverness. Yeah, it's all coming out now from Macca, letting everyone know what's happened. Dimble, Fulchester now find themselves 2-1 up, perhaps expected given league position, players on the pitch, etc. Do you foresee when you see the bench, does he, maybe Figo for Trezeguet and go even more attacking to try and see this one out, or does he shore it up just to make sure this stays?
I imagine he'll make one change in the attacking positions, yeah, so 3 up top could make sense with him having one at the back as well. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think he'll think too much behind
obviously that. Focusing his attentions on trains from Glasgow at the moment as he's commenting in the chat.
Yeah.
As a colleague mistakenly took his bag home. What the fuck, Macca? I can saw you a really good reference. Let's move over to Burn while we wait instruction from Macca. Still with subs available, Ian. With what you've seen, are you looking to change much?
Tell you what, let's.
Going to deploy Kennedy.
I was thinking maybe giving Kennedy his debut. Yeah, okay. We'll bring Kennedy on. We'll bring him on for. Do you know what? Sub the sub. Owen can come back off. And I'm going to put back up top, and I'm going to put AMR behind. Yeah, and let's restore Robin's arrow.
As much as I am fully involved in making sure I'm getting these subs right, I've already seen the majority of this from Maka, but rereading it as he's putting it in the chat is making me laugh. I know that Duggan's got a second device. Ian, have you got a second device open seeing this?
I haven't, no.
Okay,
no.
so just to give you the highlights, while this game's been going on, messages from Maka, £150 for a locksmith, missed a flight to Inverness, having to get the train to Glasgow tomorrow. Honestly, this is bad. Slept outside until the locksmith turned up as a colleague mistakenly took his bag home. She's fuming, telling him that he's let his kids down. So perhaps the last Peroni is a contender for the worst pint situation.
That's a wounder, isn't it? You don't want to be accused of letting your kids down, do you? That's a wounder.
And we've got Trezeguet coming on for Figo with Shevchenko now playing in the hole for Fulchester. Let's continue on and see if Byrne can turn this around. Oh, there was a quick opportunity. Only one goal in it. Let's slow it down. And there's Kennedy getting involved. Free kick. Emerton lines it up. Buffon saves. Good save. And Comandini surely wraps it up for the homes. Oh no, it's been disallowed. The linesman's raised his flag for a push on Novotny. Still time for Byrne to rescue this one. Can they create that one last opportunity? Lucio, Comandini, Trezeguet, and Shevchenko! And that has all but secured second now for Fulchester as we go into injury time. It's unfortunate for Northern Byrne. They play the majority of the game with 10 men, but Fulchester do just enough to edge their lowly opposition. Instant reaction, Ian, commiserations.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I mean, when I submitted the team, knew it was a big risk. Could have gone even worse than that, considering we played most of the game with 10 men. It's not too bad. It should have been worse. But on the face of it, we've competed. Same amount of shots on target, but yeah, I mean, our season continues as it has done. Can't score, concede too many.
I feel like I've been having the same conversation with you for about 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said to you, we've talked about this numerous times. It started back end of last season, sort of 8 to 10 games in, back end of last season, and it's just continued. And yeah, whether I stay consistent, whether I chop and change, can't get 2 wins on the trot.
And the thing is, you've got a mix here because you've got players like Emerton who have played well and Roy Keane who have played well. A lot of sort of average performances, and then you've got back there on a 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the credit for that one. I mean, I chopped and changed him around, and the guy was never in the same position for more than half an hour, was he? I messed him around too much there, I think. So I don't worry about that too much. Yeah, I mean, we've done all right there. It could have been a lot worse, but fingers crossed that Sloths don't win tonight, and we get another go at trying to leapfrog them.
Well, trying to find a moment's consolation for you, and Swan has come to the rescue. He's been working double quick for Duggan, who's been messaging him all sorts of stat requests, but he's come up with. You have had the biggest improvement. Is that points per game, Duggan?
Yeah.
You've had the biggest improvement points per game since game week 15 than any other team, Ian.
Well, is that because we were so shit
yes.
in the first place, though? Is that a backhanded compliment from Swan? I don't know. It's I'll take it though because
he posted it in relation to Greavesy, Edwards. So I'd asked them about this goes back half an hour nearly now, so I'll keep it brief. But basically, Logo, there's no team that's been worse since those transfers in game week 15 on an average of points per game and goals per game. And you've been the best.
Dimble, let's have a quick look at Fulchester. As we say, they've all but wrapped up second now. And big players have turned up for them tonight when they needed. You look at Buffon's 9 there and Beckham's 9 and Comandini as well, putting in one of his better performances.
Yeah, some good performances there from Cristiano Zanetti as well. I think my first ever Churchtown team I picked included Cristiano Zanetti, and he got a 6, I think, and then following that, he got a 5 or a 6, and ever since then we fell out. But he's obviously not too bad at football, is he?
thing is with Zanetti, when you look at his stats, isn't he? He's not amazing at anything, but he's very good at everything.
Yeah, he's just an all-round 15, isn't he?
He's just always, he hovers around that 15 for everything, doesn't he? You know, it's not bad.
Yeah, and he's got some interest. He's got some good mental stats. He's got good current ability, all that type of stuff. So he should be a good player. But
is this where we get the official definition between the difference in Tato's intrinsic and Alf's scouting intrinsic?
Yeah, the Tato and Alf intrinsic orgy wouldn't like Cristiano Zanetti, I don't think. Yeah, to be fair, like, it's a great performance. Well, I say great performance. The stats look good. It didn't seem as dominant as you'd expect from Fulchester at home against 10 men at the bottom of the league, but very much efficient from Mako as usual.
Yeah, well done, Mako. Congrats, mate.
Scott has disappeared, so we'll move on from this one. Oh no, Scott's back. Scott's there. So, Bostock Stanley then, Scott. You are at home to Leddersford tonight, and you, dare I say, have gone generic.
Yes, I have. So this is
the I'm off to Alton Towers formation.
Well, actually, no. I had always intended to play this tactic in this fixture purely because Tato sent me his team privately, and I told him it was a load of shit, and I'll beat you with 4 at the back. So this is what I've gone with. I didn't send a tactic file or a screenshot through. I just sort of texted it all across to you because I was quite busy, knowing that I didn't even know that last night's show didn't go ahead until this afternoon. If I'm honest, but yeah, this is the team that we've gone with. Some very good players in there, in their right positions. This tactic has worked sporadically in the Super League in the past, and I think at home against a shit Leddersford team, it'll do the biz. Expect big things from Carlos Jacks.
It's interesting because I'm looking at that midfield and I've got no issue with Jacques being there, but I just don't like Ronaldinho being that far back personally.
Yeah, well, he's not done great playing attacking midfield for me, or really for any others. He played up front last game and he was crap. So it's just that creative free across midfield more than anything. So yeah, it's been a bit of a write-off season for us. Without making excuses, we've struggled with injuries and suspensions. I think if you look at the players that were
you've been the most hit squad all season, like consistently hit squad all season. Yeah,
if you look at the players that were so influential last season, like Jacks, how many games has Jacks played out? 23?
15.
Probably not many more than half. Ashley Live's been injured and suspended a couple of times. John 17. Welsh has been missing. Torres scored like 5 in 6 and then has been shit since. Bought in a couple of big players, bought Rowling, he's not done anything. So we haven't had the best season. We've tried a few different. I think Torres has scored probably 1 goal in about 15 or something stupid. It started off really well, and I thought he was going to be hitting his peak, but I've stuck with him throughout the season. When I've had other players who could have played, I've let other players move on. So yeah, we're not going to make the 6th season disappointingly, but we will beat Tato tonight, and we look forward to the redraft.
And Steve mentioning that it's great to hear you on comms again, Scott. So there's a little compliment for you.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Steve.
Let's speak to Duggan about the Leddersford team. No Rayet, no Ndai. And seemingly, if you're a striker, you're playing in attacking midfield.
Yeah. Tato does what he does, and it's not for me to kind of go in any harder than on anybody else, really. But he's had good players, he's had crap players, he's had his own players, and he's still yet to trouble the 6, really. And I don't know. I don't know if this kind of we're not making the 6, so I'm just sticking something random out as a bit of a.
Is it a cop out?
I don't know. I think it feels like that, mate. Or if does it become a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing?
Okay, let me put it another way. In the interest of fairness, so if I pull the league table up again, they're 11th. Okay. Now you are 9th, a point ahead of them. Now I've been particularly critical of Dragons this year because I believe that you assembled what I called a Galactico squad, and you should have absolutely been in here, and you deserve every bit of criticism that comes your way for not being there. Now, this is the Super League, where every team on paper should be relatively equal. Ledisford, as I say, are 11th, haven't got as Galactico looking a squad. However, they have got the likes of Van Nistelrooy in their team. They have got Zé Roberto. They have got Ndai. And I haven't necessarily been as critical. Do you think Tato's getting away, because he does things like these creative tactics, he's getting away from the criticism from people like myself because of that?
I don't know, maybe, but I think the only thing I'd say in exchange of that is he's kind of never had a team from day one, so I'm kind of copping out for him there. So I think it'll be interesting to see what he does kind of come the redraft.
Okay, so a lot of managers who are perhaps going under the radar won't have excuses. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, maybe, or maybe he just, I don't know, maybe he flits between being arsed and not being arsed. I think it's probably something you'd have to scrutinise him for. But I think if you asked us four on the call, I think we'd all collectively say that some of his choices sometimes are a little bit batshit crazy, and hard to justify. Constantino at AMC, Constantino's his best striker in the squad. Better than Van Nistelrooy. You'll get better numbers than Van Nistelrooy if you play him 26 games, 100%. He's the reason why Dragons finished top. He's got Scallion and Dyer, who are two of the best DMs on the game, probably just behind Patrick Vieira and Jens Jeremies. I don't know. It's probably a question for him. I mean, Dimble, what do you reckon? You inherited kind of a similar sort of situation as he did at Astor, and the difference is that he's then been kind of handed what was a Galactico squad at Ledesford, Torres, Ronaldinho, all those sorts of players, and he's made it worse. He's done a Groovesy.
Yeah, I really liked the Ledesford team he inherited. It was a really good team, really good players, and I think kind of what you said there is Tato kind of flits between taking it seriously and then having fun, which is fine. But then it does then appear to be a bit of a cop out of like, I'm playing for senior for the rest of the season, so don't expect me to make the playoffs type of thing. Whereas
is this because he's playing against a team that's also, no disrespect to Scott, probably not going to make top six, so he feels he can have a bit of fun this week? Would he have put out a team if he was like playing against a team who were playing for something? Would the spine be Ficini, Semak, Kerr, Paredes?
I actually think
that's the spine of your team.
I actually think, bar the one at the back, this is one of the least batshit crazy teams he's put out this season. Genuinely, I think last game was mental.
Go on, Scott.
I think if you were to ask Tato's opinion, I know he's not here tonight, that he would say he likes to be creative, he likes to be innovative with his tactics, and actually I really like some of them. I think his problem has been that, some of these tactics could work. He just doesn't roll with them consistently enough to get any momentum. He changes it up too much. He likes his asymmetric and all that sort of stuff. And every now and again he'll pull off a good result, but then as soon as he drops points, he's changing 3 or 4 players and he's changing his formation and all this sort of stuff. And if he just rolled with it for 5, 6, 7 games to see if he could get some consistency, he might get that and win games whilst having fun. I think he wants to have fun. He wants to, be creative. I just think he needs to bring a little bit of consistency with it.
Okay, let's go to match centre then. Ian, match prediction, please.
Can't look past a home win.
Home win. Duggan?
I think score draw, probably 2s each, I reckon. They've both got goals in them.
Okay, Dimble?
0-0.
And Scott, again, it's up to you. You can either predict or you can abstain as your team are involved.
2-1, Bostock.
Okay, lovely. Let's see if you are correct. And it is Ledesford who have started the quickest with a couple of early opportunities. Zé Roberto heavily involved in the first 10 minutes. Seeing Torres' name now getting involved for the home side. Ronaldinho's name as well. D'Alessandro. And Ficini scores his first goal for Ledesford. It's finally happened. Tato will be loving this when he watches it back. Sorry, Ian, were you going to say something there?
Ow. something along those lines. How the fuck has he scored in the Super League? Something like
And
that.
it's 2 and it's Constantinu. Duggan, just
Oh.
tell us. How much do you wish he could have a Dragons kit on?
Oh, mate, more than I wish I could have a fucking lob on over Natalie Portman on a regular basis, I reckon. He's class. He's his best striker by a million miles. He's up there with ZZ Roberts and he's up there with Impenza in terms of big, strong target men.
Scott, you were adamant you were going to win with a basic 4 at the back formation. It hasn't entirely gone to plan.
Correct. Can I resign for the second week running?
Let's bring your stats up first, as Tato isn't here. Lee Young Pyo having a decent game out on the left-hand side, but a lot of the key players there just average 6 rated performances.
Right, let's fucking mix this up a little bit. Jump on that tactics screen, Pfeiffer.
Let's jump on the tactics screen, Scott. You go wild.
Send them fullbacks to wing back with an arrow to halfway.
Done.
Get Jacks to AMC. Arrow. Central the midfielders. Let's have a look here. Swap Ronaldinho and Raul. Put John Welsh on for Raul. No Arrow. And in fact, fuck it. Take D'Alessandro off for Gonzalez. Swap him with Welsh. No Arrow. Send them fullbacks further on.
So no Arrow on any of the centre mids?
Yeah, that's it. Roll with that.
Okay. Tato, a shock playoff contender? No, I don't think so, Alf. Dimble, let's have a look at Ledisford then. 2 up and a memorable first goal in the Super League.
Memorable, yeah. You imagine it came off his fucking ass or something. Like, there's nothing in those stats that suggests he could do anything of any quality. But congratulations, Tato. You did prove a point in a way.
Ian, let me ask you actually on that point. We've seen a few of these guys come in who statistically have no right to even be in the Super League, never mind do anything. But there have been a few in the past who have proven a point. Do you think Tato could be onto one here?
No, I think proving a point, they do have to be of a certain level. I mean, he's not of a level, is he? Generally speaking, I think it's been ones where we've all sort of thought, yeah, he should have been in from the start. Those are the guys who've sort of come in and done a job. Not guys where you still sort of think, yeah, still probably shouldn't be in there, really. I mean, you know, if you've got finishing of 8 for your striker, you want acceleration off the ball and pace to be up there, don't you? And those are still average stats. All he's got is bravery, which, you know, like he says, that's probably come off his face, hasn't it? You know, that goal.
Let's go back to the second half then. So Bostock have made changes to try and get themselves back into this. I don't think, let me just double check that Tato sent me anything in his absence. Oh no, he did. Hang on. The formation stays the same throughout. Gallardo for maybe at half time if he's on a 6. I'm going to have to double check all this now. No. 7 he can stay on. Piver on at 60 for whichever of the AMCs is on a 6. Cini stays on whatever rating he gets. Okay, so everything does stay as it is for now at least. Let's resume the action as Ledisford lead 2-0 away at Bostock Stanley. Double change for the home side as they look to try and get back in, although it looks like Ledisford have had the earliest attacks, trying to score a third and wrap this one up. 56 now on the clock, and it's still Ledisford looking most dangerous. Torres with a chance, Ronaldinho as well, but they fail to convert. Scott, is there anything further you'd like to do to try and force this game?
Yeah, put Andre on for Ronaldinho.
No.
Why not?
We're not bringing a goalkeeper on up front.
Okay, all right. Leave it then.
Like if it was an injury in the 80-something minute, I'd say yes. But let's keep it competitive and professional. You don't want any forward arrows on the midfielders or anything?
Nah, just roll with it.
Okay, no worries at all.
Better than Faucini.
Right, and then he wanted Piver on for any of the AMCs getting a 6. I don't think any of them are. Katabi, another excellent performance by the goalkeeper. Scally as well, proving a point thus far. So no changes either for them. I just get the feeling Bostock are going to get one here and make a game of it. There's Torres again, seeing a lot of Torres in this second half now. Constantinu with an opportunity as we pull into the final 10. Bostock leaving it late if they are going to do anything. Probably too late now as we head towards injury time, and then nothing happens in injury time. You created plenty, Scott, but you just weren't able to convert the chances. He's just struggling to take himself off mute. There he is.
Yeah, not clinical enough. That's pretty much it. Not really much else to say for seeing his squad, so I might go and top myself.
The ratings didn't really improve that much. Lee Young-pyo, the only player still rating an 8. There was a few more 7s dotted around, and the subs certainly came on and had something of an impact, but it just wasn't quite enough, was it?
No, clearly a lot of shit. And on that, I'm going to bid you good night and jump off the chat, and I'll catch you all later.
Cheers, Scott.
See you later, guys.
Night, mate.
Speaking of someone who won't be joining us, Steve Wright is currently got his balls deep in a board game.
Yahtzee.
How times have changed. How times have changed.
I know. Do you remember that time where he was fully committed to CM? He set up his own Stemp League, can't be bothered to run it anymore. He's got other people running it for him. And now he's struggling to even make Super League streams. Here we are on a Friday, not even Super League night, but because I had to miss it through illness, I've put a bonus one on a Friday. You've all turned up for it, and he's too busy playing board games.
Yeah, if you ever told me there was a time where Steve wouldn't turn up for Friday Zoom beers, I would have believed that it's because we died of some horrific illness.
When you really need to start to worry is when he doesn't fall asleep for Friday Zoom beers. So it's fine missing them, but when he turns up and he doesn't fall a kip, that's when we all need to be fucking worried. Because
he's face down in Mousetrap right now.
Night Swanee, who's also off, he sends peace and love. Dan saying sacks and ladders, very good. Ian, I've had the Leddersford stats up on the screen. I sort of commented during the hour break, but there were some excellent performances. Toby dropped from a 9 to an 8, but Etspiria, his went up to a 9, and Scally maintained his 9 as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've already touched on it earlier, to be honest. The one thing that obviously Tato does have going for him when he can do all these weird and wonderful setups is that he'll always have either Scally or Ndai or both of them at the back, and he probably feels if they are a couple of tackling machines, he can send everyone else forward to try and find him a goal. That's clearly what's happened tonight, isn't it? 14 tackles, 1 out of 18 is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a fantastic sort of like base for some decent players to go off and do stuff, and a couple of very good players to go off and do stuff as well. And when you think you've got
is everything okay over there?
I've just had to plug my charger in, and it keeps like trying to access my photos off my computer. So yeah, that's that. I'm pressing don't allow. That's what I'm doing.
The hackers, they're after you copious amount of screenshots of Isaac Okoronkwo and Materazzi before they play whether to sign them or not.
Well, they're all on the cloud, so they are vulnerable.
No.
Let's go on. And next up, Duggan, we come to your Dragon side at home to your former side Gazelles. Now, if I remember correctly, were you not on for the reverse fixture as well? Because we gave the big build-up about you being at your former side, and then you got absolutely hammered.
No, I don't think I was on comms.
Because there was a big
yeah.
Clarence Seedorf conversation going on as well at the time.
Yeah, I think there's been one try to be started on Twitter as well this week as well. But yeah, can't get much worse. I played Veron in a free roll in that game, and he just absolutely backfired. I think he got a 5 or something and didn't get a kick of the ball.
We can see here Bishkan's still unavailable, Saeed suspended as well. So you've had to make a couple of changes to the team.
Yeah, I think. I think the story of Dragons this season is that we kind of keep a clean sheet for fun. We had to cash in on Lucio, and that kind of really we've conceded the most goals in the league, but scored the third highest. Probably we're a bit too gung ho for the first kind of 15 games. Wood has been badgering us to first of all wib wob, but also to play a 2-4 all season. And I think if we had to play a 2-4 all season, we mightn't have scored as many, but we definitely would have been better defensively. So we know where it's went wrong this season. It's a miracle that we're even talking about potentially getting 6th still. We've been dead more times than fucking Alfbridge. If we get pumped tonight again, then we're out of it. If we win, then maybe, just maybe.
Never say never. As for Gazelles, they're without arguably 2 of their best centre backs, but they have gone with something which again, and the dream team at Gazelles, the dynamic duo have in the last couple of games been creeping more and more towards attacking looking lineups, and this is what they've come up with this time. A fair few arrows by their standards. Seedorf and Pinardi supporting Anelka Dimble. Do you like the look of this team?
Not particularly. No, I think if you dug in, you're delighted to see that. When the teams get revealed, you're delighted to see that up against you. But these things can work, as we know, especially on a one-off basis. If you played that every week in the Super League, you would be finishing 12th to 14th. But on a one-off game, it can work. Some of the players are a bit shit, including the star boys. Seedorf is usually shit, and they've got a bit of an uphill task. And to be fair to them, they've been competitive all season. They've actually done a really good job, management team, I think, getting as many points on the board as they have got, with not many options going forward.
So hang on a minute, he was actually called Lord Seedorf in the chat this week, wasn't he? He's had 3 5s in the last 5 games, is that right?
That is correct.
Blimey hell.
He hasn't played for a few games. This is the first one he's been available for as well. He's been injured for the last 2 or 3.
Is Pinardi coming off the back of a 10? Is that right?
Yes.
And that wasn't with a sideways arrow, was it?
No.
Right. Interesting.
I don't feel like you're feeling this formation, Ian.
It's not an awful lot different, is it? They've just tweaked it with arrows and stuff. And I mean, I understand what you're saying about missing the 2 best centre-backs, but I think season 5, I think they've got the best centre-back playing.
I will never, ever refer to John Terry as the best centre-back at anything.
I think at this stage, those 3 guys, he probably is. Maybe Udeze, I guess.
Big tit, though. What a legend.
But I don't know. I feel as though you sort of you get Pinardi ticking and then you go and do that to him is a bit, I don't know, is maybe not the smartest move. But they've proved everyone wrong all season to get to where they are. So
they certainly have.
Yeah, I think I'd echo that. Listen, I think people will be choking on their beer. I think hats off to Martin. And definitely Dan. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dan does when he comes in on kind of a full season and full redraft. Me and Martin clearly aren't friends. I think he's a miserable prick and he thinks I'm a gobshite. But they've done miles better than I could have ever anticipated this season. So fair play, lads.
So both sides on 28 points. We've already you've kind of already established your position, Duggan. It's both sides must win. We know this. Loser is definitely out of the race. A draw, both sides are out the race, and winner just about in with a chance. Dimble, score prediction, please.
I'm going to go 2-0 home win.
Okay, and Ian?
It has to be, doesn't it? Unless you 2 up front trip over each other because they prefer to play on their own. I don't see how Dragons can't score 2 goals and win it.
And Duggan, again, you're playing, so it's up to you. Do you want to predict or no?
I'd like to think a Dragons 2-0, but I think, without knowing what their tactic file is, I think Dan's cracked the art of kind of counter-attacking normal tactic rather than attacking and just kind of hitting teams on the break. So I think they could do us on the break.
Okay, let's find out. It's a very quick start by the away side. But Dragons take the lead from Montella on 3 minutes. Huge goal early doors, and they went looking for a quick 5 second. Don't get it. Bernardi getting involved. Again, the away side, it's plenty of black and yellow. But on the counter, Dragons come forward. Free kick, 27 minutes now on the clock. And there is the goal for Anelka to make it 1-1. And another centre-back gets injured. And the man that Mr. Edwards referred to as arguably the best centre-back season 5 is now leaving the pitch. That must be a massive morale booster, Duggan. Half an hour on the clock, 1-1. It's been blistering. You've been under a fair bit of pressure there.
Yeah, and I don't know why, because like Dimble said, that tactic doesn't really make much sense. So fair play to the lads. They're doing miles better with this as well as the full season than we could have thought. So yeah, let's see where it goes. Next goal is massive.
Martin confirming in the chat. Welcome, Martin. And Dan also joined the chat as well. Evening, Dan. Both manager and assistant manager joining at the same time in time to watch their game. Confirming Yakubu coming on. Let's resume the action. And see. And it's 2-1 to Dragons. And just talk to us about the impact. I'm still not even going to attempt to pronounce his name, Duggan, but with the exception of Kesas, he's been the outer league signing of the season, hasn't he?
I think so, and I have to take a huge amount of blame if we miss the 6, because I got him in and didn't put him in the first squad of 24 because I totally forgot it landed, because it landed after I'd submitted me 24. Like, I'd done it early. Mm-hmm. You know, is it unrealistic to say that we would have had maybe one win, maybe 4 points more if he had a kid? I mean, those stats are fucking horrific, by the way. I'll stop myself there.
Smash and grab.
Well, as you're live, whereas Dan and Martin are watching, I'll start with the away side. And Ian, looking at the stats here, it's not exactly been... If you were to look at those ratings, you wouldn't think Gazelles had arguably been the better side, would you?
They kind of like they've relied heavily on 3 or 4 guys to knock the ball about. But no, none of them have done anything particularly outstanding, have they? Where's the assist come from? Ortega gets the assist, but he's on a 6, which is possibly a little unfair. 6 Never Bramble, maybe because he's on a yellow, but I don't know. I think what doesn't bode so well for him is having to spend 45 minutes now with Yakubu at centre-back, up against 2 of the best strikers on the game. Might be tough for him.
Well, while we wait for news from either manager or assistant manager, Duggan, we'll bring your stats up on the screen. And anything jumping out at you there?
No, not really. I think, just getting shut down, I think, by that DM line of Gazelles, which is pretty solid. Bit shit, not great, but not bad. There's been a fair few times this season where we've been the better stats-wise, but haven't got the results. So I'm not complaining too much about being ahead at half-time with 2 shots on target.
Well, Gazelles have reacted by bringing former Dudley Hillman Alex on for Zenden. Any alterations for yourself?
No, I think we'll roll as is, please, mate.
Okay, roll as is. Let's resume the action and go towards the hour mark. And it's free. It's Kieran Dyer. Dragons have almost certainly ended Gazelle's season here. It was great while it lasted. Look at that 10 rating. As the home side, you get first option to alter anything on 65 minutes, Duggan?
There's not much I can do there, mate. I'll just keep as is, please.
Keeping as is. Let's move over to the away side, who, if they want to rescue their season, they're going to have to do it in the next 25 plus added on. Asamoah, the only available. Bartes going for a swim with Michael Barrymore this evening. Asamoah is an attacking change, but who would it be for? Do they alter their shape? Maybe Seedorf goes forward and becomes a 2 with Pinardi. It's certainly interesting to see what Dan decides to do with the manager holding his hands up and saying this is purely with the assistant for this one. Martin having nothing to do with it. The substitute is coming off. Yakubu off. Asamoah on. They're going one at the back, which is very brave against 2 strikers. Are we saying... I mean, I'm just presuming here, Dan, if you can confirm, but you're going something a bit more like this? We'll take it up to AMC, Asamoah. Yeah, so I've got all that right. If you could just confirm I've got the arrows right as well, please, Dan. Ian, look, if I am right and this is how they're lining up, do you think that they can still trouble Dragons here? Or are they kind of leaving too much when you consider the attacking talent of Dragons, too much for Bramble to do on his own?
Yeah, I think when you look at something like this now in kind of desperation to change something, it's, you know, on the face of it, it looks like a decent-ish setup, but you're chasing it, aren't you? So
they certainly are. And there's 4, it's Segalco. Dan said it was must-win, so he had to do something. They are certainly not going to win it now. It's 5. Balmer with his first of the season. And this is payback for the result earlier in the season. There's Pinardi, makes it 5-2. And what a game. Dragons certainly know how to entertain this year. Every game is a goal fest. Looking for a 6th, maybe? As we go into injury time and the game concludes... And Doug, an instant reaction as you come away 5-2 winners against your former side.
Yeah, decent result. I think the lads probably done us a favour with opening her up a little bit later on in the second half there. I think, you know, it probably would have finished with just the 1 or 2 goals in it, if not. But yeah, that's it. That's a pretty good result for us, all things considered, mate.
Very, very good result. Let's have a look at your stats first, and look, unsurprising to see who the man pulling the strings are. But look at these 9 performances. You've got Montella, probably his best performance in a Dragons shirt. You've got Dyer and Balmer doing exactly what you'd expect Dyer and Balmer to do. It's all very positive looking at that.
Yeah, it's been a while since Balmer's put in a performance like that, I must say. I think he's been largely kind of underwhelming this season. Zidane in MC hasn't been great, but we were a little bit out of options with the transfers we did. So yeah, and just to reiterate again, kind of like all joking aside, like fair fucks to the Gazelles boys, because they've really done well this season. After I left them, players that just weren't working. So yeah, fair play, lads.
And Dimble, let's have a look at Gazelles. Dan had to go for it. He did. It backfired. But you know that, as Duggan says, they've had a good season and they weren't discredited. You know, yes, they conceded 5 tonight, but they weren't exactly outclassed, were they?
No, they probably felt like they had to try something different. So it's not quite been going to plan the last couple of weeks. So they're taking a bit of a gamble with the formation. It's not worked tonight, but I think Dan in particular is learning as he goes here, and I think he could be a dangerous manager in the future.
No, he's very keen to get involved should the opportunity arise. But congratulations, Duggan, who must feel you've just about kept your season alive there with a crucial win.
A Churchtown win in this game really puts us in the mix. It would put us a point, I think, behind Devils.
Well, let's have a look. So we've got Churchtown Devils next. Your win takes you up to 31, which is the same as Loco, who didn't win earlier. And Devils are on 33, so it'd be a 2-point gap with 2 to play.
Yeah, and a better goal difference, I think, after that.
Devils drew 0-0 last time out with Loco, despite dominating the game. And they make one change, which will delight the Super League purists. And it's that Lee Bowyer has been dropped from the squad so that Richie Wellens can return to the 11, which has delighted, absolutely delighted Duggan there. You've spent many years now at Northern Burn and at other sides previous, BTEC obviously, and have had many tussles with all of the Devils managers. What do you make of this team? Because it's still virtually as solid as it's been throughout the entire save, yet doesn't the phrase that keeps coming back is it doesn't seem to have the fear factor of previous Devils teams?
Well, I mean, first of all, I have to say that a couple of weeks back, they stuck. We were looking like we turned a corner. We were playing quite well, and they stuck 5 past us. And my first thought when I seen that team that week was no arrows, looked weird. On the face of it, looked like a lack of intent. I look at this and I think the same, and then I think Welland's in for Boy. I think is a bizarre decision. Montero can't get in the team for Ayala, which is another strange one, especially when you're shifting Nestor over to the left. But then you look at the rest of the team and it's absolutely world class, and similar to what we were saying with Leddersford, when you've got a massively strong DMC, sometimes you feel like you can take some risks going forward and play a couple of guys you might not normally play. How Henry doesn't get in this team for me is a mystery.
Dimble, any thoughts on Henry? Should he, when you see the 11, should Henry be in there?
He should be, but not AMC without an arrow. If you had that arrow on it, then yes. Without it, if that's how he wants to play, then Eto is probably the better option. But yeah, I'm pleased to see him on the bench, if I'm being honest. He's a big game player as well.
When you see this 11 on paper, I use that saying fear factor. Does it concern you? I mean, there's still a whole host of Super League winners in this team.
It does concern me, yeah. They've got match winners most of the way through the team. It's like one of the strongest spines. If you take centre back, defensive midfielder, AM, and striker, they've got probably top 5 options in each position. So yeah, it does scare me, because if one of them turns up, like Ferguson turns up, or Impenza turns up, or Kewell does, then we'll be in big trouble.
Well, you go into the game without Guerrero, who's unavailable, without Khan, who's still unavailable, without Tomazi, who's still not quite fit. Matt Holland comes out the squad entirely. You mentioned Kewell there and where Henry should fit, etc. But let's be honest, you've probably got the 2 most in-form attacking midfielders in the division, with the possible exception of the Polish lad at Dragons.
Yeah, we've got 2 decent ones. They're not perfect, but they'll do us. They've got skills that kind of complement each other. I like the way they both kind of, one's big and strong, can run. The other one's a goal scorer. I think they suit the way we play, definitely, and I've got it ticking as much as I can. I think there's not much more I can do with the options I've got, and I've turned it into what I think is a very strong squad now. Not just the 11. I'd say 15 or 16 players I'm really, really happy with. And even the ones that I'm not so happy with, I'd still kind of trust them to do something. I don't think there's many that are going to let me down, hopefully.
No, absolutely. And a win gives you the cue for the second season in a row.
I believe a draw would do it now, after the results.
Yes, with Loco dropping points, I believe a draw would be enough, yes.
Yeah.
So let's go to Match Centre. And Duggan, I'll start with you for a match prediction, please.
Oh, I'm hoping I've got my arse clenched for a Churchtown 1-0 win with a fucking 1 shot on target. I'll take it anyway and give it to us.
Ian?
Sorry, Rob.
I think Churchtown take it, 2 clear goals.
Okay. Dimble, do you want to predict or do you want to leave it empty?
I'll take a draw.
Take a draw. Let's find out what happens. Impenza with an attempt in the first minute, but fails to convert. And then it all kind of levels itself out without much happening. Devils are arguably shading. But there's Agahawa on 20 minutes, opens the scoring to celebrations in the studio by 2 of my 3 guests. The other one staying very Switzerland on the whole situation. We've almost reached half-time already. This half has flown by. Crucially, though, as the half-time whistle goes, just the 1 goal. And Dimble, you find yourself ahead at the break.
Yeah, I think we're the better team there. So far, we're the better team. So hopefully that'll continue. Agahawa's come up here again. He's had a couple of quiet weeks, so it's nice to see him back.
Duggan, let's have a look at the away side first, as Rob's not here, so we'll just briefly chat about them. As we've pretty much said all season, it's not awful, it's just not great, and by Devil standards, it just looks average.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to know what the kind of, if Rob can tell us in the chat what the like rationale is behind no arrows, because from my
Rob is here. Sorry.
But yeah, he's in the chat. Yeah, or usual arrows fight he's asking for at half time. He's done this a couple of times, hasn't he, Fifey, with no arrows from the off, and I don't really understand it. I'm sure there's method in the madness, but from what I understand, you know, the arrows help you get those overloads in really key positions, whether it's the AM turning 2 up top into 3 up top, or 2 AMCs and 1 up top into 3 up top, or whatever. With no arrows, it kind of just, there's no overloads anywhere. People should be kind of matched man for man, really. So I'm interested to know why no arrows.
I do believe there was a reason when he first deployed this sort of four or five games ago. There was a reason he deployed it. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. Rob, just confirm. I know the 4 arrows are correct. Just remind me if the one on Vieira. I think the one on Vieira is correct as well. If you could just confirm, please. Interestingly, Ian, considering Churchtown are winning, Henri is coming on for Mpenza.
I mean, the thing is, if you're introducing the arrows, Henri for Etu, for me, is the change. Obviously, he can't bring Jay Lings on, can he? So, you know, obviously it's got to be Henri for Etu for me, and Mpenza has to stay. You know, always 90 minutes every game when he's fit.
We go over and look at the home side then, Dimble, and it jumps straight out how well Mendes de Silva's played in that first half.
Yeah, again, he has been a bit quiet as well. When he's got the chance recently, he's not done much, so it's very good to see. That's what he was doing last season, all season. And I won't be changing anything, because even though I keep getting this situation. I want to bring Hersey on, but I don't want to change the players that are on the pitch, so I've not been doing it very
Fair
much.
We're already at nearly the hour mark. With nothing happening in the first 10 minutes of that second half. And Churchtown, through Arnold Brugink, the former Devils man, has made it 2-0. And one camera has gone shaking. There are fists waving in the middle camera as I'm looking at it. And a round of applause from Switzerland on camera number 3. Dims, will you just finish third, please, and stop chasing me down, says Maka, who is still there in the chat. Rob already saying as is. Will you be changing anything here, Dimble?
Yes, but I can't remember. 1 second.
Ian, as someone who has now obviously qualified for a number of playoff campaigns during your stint at Northern Burn, how impressed have you been that for the second season in a row, Churchtown are set to get their cue?
Do you know what? At this stage last season, when Dimble had hit his stride, and no one would have fancied playing him, and unfortunately we got him. And I think we're past that point now, aren't we? Where nobody wants to play Churchtown, and yeah, like you've mentioned, like I've been around for a while, and one thing I do have to say, which goes under the radar a little bit, I've seen so many managers try and get a tune out of Agahauer and fail. And we always talk about whether it's Sigalco at Burn or whether it's certain players, you know, finally getting a tune out of a manager getting a tune out of a certain player somewhere. No one ever gets anything out of Agahauer. So yeah, full credit to Dimble for that one.
And based on that big praise there, this is where Dimble says Agahauer off, please.
I'll take Brugink off for Hersey, please, and just that'll be it.
For Hersey. Now I have to say, much the same, how delighted I do mention it a lot. How delighted I am personally that Dimble is proving to everyone why I think Brugink is such a good player. Like, I never got the numbers out of him that Dimble did, but I'm delighted that Dimble is, because I think he's a great player.
Yeah, on the Agahauer thing as well, I had a tough choice to make between, at the time, Ian was interested in him, in one of my defenders at the time, and he offered me Henri, and I had a choice between Henri and Agahauer, basically. My heart was telling me Agahauer, but my head was saying Henri, so I think it's turned out right in the end.
No, absolutely. And Ayala has been sent off, and it goes from bad to worse for Devils, and they are certainly going to be the team clinging on to the playoff spot all the way to game 26. Are you presuming at this stage he's going to go one at the back, Duggan?
Yeah, he's a hand grenade, isn't he? He'll not be asked.
He'll not be asked. He's probably logged off. What a surprise, he says in the chat, that he's generally missing at least one centre-back for every game, with Nesta, Montero or Ayala injured and or suspended at any one time.
One thing you definitely don't need to ask Swan for stats for is like who's had the most red cards since they've been in the Super League.
You are able to change it if you want, Dimble, if you really want to go and try and massacre Devils at this point, or are you happy just to keep playing the natural game?
I will let it run because, I don't want to change anything in a minute.
No, that's absolutely fine. Let's resume the action now. Churchtown 2 goals up, 1 man up, and loads of time flies by, and Churchtown are just easing themselves into victory. And there's the full-time whistle. Dimble's delighted, Duggan's delighted, Ian's calm as anything with a thumb up. But that is a superb performance, and congratulations on the queue, Dimble.
Thank you very much. Yeah, 2 out of 3 seasons. It's not bad, is it?
No, absolutely stunning effort. Again, it gets referred to, I know Duggan likes to highlight it, but from where you took over to where you are now is incomparable in terms of what Churchtown are achieving.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been good. I've enjoyed it, obviously. And I've got loads of players I like now, so there's no excuses if I didn't make it. But yeah, like you say, I came from a place where I looked around, especially in midfield, and I really hated my team. But I kind of grew fond of them, and I didn't want to leave them in the lurch. So yeah, it's been great.
You're like a proud dad, aren't you?
Yeah, I do feel like, I mean, going back to Ian's divisory statement earlier in the week about taking players with us in the redraft, I would happily take about 10 of these players with me. But
and then sit them in the reserve.
It's still a bad idea, Ian. Still a bad idea.
What I think this screen highlights more than anything, and what I like about Churchtown is, yes, there are obviously good players in this Churchtown team, but when it comes to watching what Churchtown do, compared to some of the perceived bigger sides, it always feels like it's a team effort with Churchtown.
Yeah, what I would say is, in boxing, you talk about pound for pound fighters across weight divisions, or in MMA, you talk about pound for pound fighters across weight divisions. Pound for pound, Dimble is the best manager in this league, hands down. He's never been blessed with ridiculous amounts of talent. The pre-season stream from 2 seasons ago, the likes of me and Steve were putting our neck on the line saying Dimble's going to do bits, and people were going, oh, where's this coming from? He's got nothing to back it up, all this kind of stuff. And we'd seen it in network saves, we'd seen it, amongst ourselves, early lockdown, really. And he'll not thank us for saying it, because he'll just be cringing his bollocks off. But pound for pound, for me, he's the best manager in the league, hands down. And he's going to be amongst it when he gets superstars, even though he'd probably come out in hives and just be totally not used to it.
Ian, let's just have a word on Devils. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and now they're fighting for their top 6 survival.
Yeah, Richie Wellens, 60 passes. Fucking hell.
But more crucially, only 38
only 38
complete.
landing. Yeah, and non-key. If you look down that column, 0 key passes, and what have they been doing for 90 minutes?
He's been Devils' best player there, though.
No one was running forward.
He's been Devils' best player there, though. Stats, if you look right across the board, most passes, most tackles won. That's nearly 90% of his tackles won.
Well, let's get some right, Doug. And the Devils' best player was Sebastian Frey. But yeah, other than that.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, because Dimble's battered him, but,
Yeah, I mean, we alluded to it earlier on. With the no ROs and with the change for Wellens, you feel like you're starting off on the back foot. And when you go into the informed team in the league, or one of the strongest performing teams in the league, looking for a playoff place, it didn't smell right.
And remember as well, that transfer was Boya for Dyer. So essentially what he's done there is Wellens for Dyer, if Boya's not playing.
That tells you everything you need to know. Another team chasing a queue is Dudley Hill. They visit Astor, who themselves can really pile some pressure on Devils. So as it stands, Devils will be on 33, Loco 31, Dragons 31, and Asta could be set to join the 31 club as well. The draw specialists in the division will be looking to turn that into a win tonight. They alter the formation slightly. Perlo, interestingly, plays out on the left wing for this game. Emerson, the centre of the 3DMs, and DeVio, another player who left Northern Burn having not really had a look in, but has actually had a decent impact, Ian, since joining Asta.
Yeah, I don't. How was he had a 7 for no? I'm sure he had a 5 in that game for us. How was he averaging a 7 rating? He was awful. That was a 5. Same old story. Everyone leaves Northern Burn and they seem to do all right. On the face of it, flat 7's not great, but 5 and 8's fantastic. Alf, I know when he took him, he was quite keen to take him, and he knew before he took him what he was going to do with him, and it has panned out. Going back to the left-hand side, though, PLO on the left is I know he's been mentioning all week about how he's got a new system, and it's going to be a bit of a strange one, and it looks slightly strange. But I mean, he's played Placente there plenty of times out of position. I know he can get a job done there with a certain set of instructions. Emerson, as Hodgie got, working better at DM or AM rather than MC, so I don't have a problem with that. Ambrosine is decent, obviously strong. I mean, there's players in areas here that can do damage, isn't there?
No, absolutely. And Duggan, we mentioned earlier when it came to Gazelles that they've surpassed everyone's expectations. Asta very much in that same boat, and again, like yourselves, can keep their season alive with a win tonight.
Yeah, and the reality is, I was someone that thought Alpha was going to really struggle, but ultimately he could be on the same points as that Dragon squad with 2 games to play, and they're night and day, the squads really. So yeah, I think out of all of us, he's definitely got the most time to do play testing and kind of test things and all that sort of stuff, and he's still in the mix.
And Dimble, the man who couldn't be bothered to turn up for comms tonight, makes one change from the side that beat Bostock 1-0 last time out, and that's purely because Dede suspended with Lizarazu coming in. The rest remains unchanged. So former on loan Churchtown man Luca Tony continues to play up front with Evie Sand.
Yeah, and Steve's managed to ruin his morale. I got him back to something like his usual self, and he's gone back to very poor morale, I think, or something like that, straight away. So I don't know what Steve's doing.
It's very low morale, yes.
I mean,
that's when he drove past the Welcome to Dudley sign, though, wasn't it? It just dipped.
Steve's got something clicking still, even though most weeks he's not exactly battering teams. He does still occasionally hammer someone, but he's done it a lot of times this season where he's been either very, very tight game or he's been the worst team and he's nicked a result. And I just think they're a bit of a machine, Dudley. I think they've got some very, very good players across the DMC particularly, and if Tony can get firing again, then he's going to be a title contender again, I think.
Well, on that note, Duggan, Steve's another side that isn't exactly littered with the creme de la creme of the Super League, and he managed to do it in somewhat surprising circumstances last season. Could he do it again and retain it with a similar sort of not star-studded squad?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is anywhere near some of the 11s that Dudley Hill have put out over the 4 seasons of this save. But I think the big thing, and I'm a big kind of believer in this, that we've all benefited from being locked up for 18 months and having nothing to do but champ. Steve is probably a really good example of that. First season, he was dreadful along with us at Dragons, but he clearly kind of invested time and effort into getting better at the game. This 11 is testament to that, and obviously his title-winning season was testament to that as well. I think if they're in the 6, which they will be, they've got as good a chance as anybody, and Steve's been there and done it and knows where it's went well.
Okay, let's go down the line then, Ian.
Yeah, I kind of fancy Dudley Hill tonight, I mean, historically, a top away side. If they can bring that back, then yeah, I think they can cement the place in the top 6 tonight.
Duggan?
I'm looking at that front three of Dudley and looking at that middle three of Asta and thinking that Dudley should win 2-0, and that would be a perfect night for Dragons if it did.
And Dimble?
I think it's going to be one of them out frustrations, and it's going to be a 1-1.
I apologise, lads, but we are now at 25-12. I've still not had any tea, so I've cracked open the onion rings because I'm fucking starving.
That's what happens when the save corrupts, isn't it?
Great shout. Onion rings are class.
Let's kick off the penultimate game of the night and see whether Asta can keep their season alive or will Dudley get the cue. Asta started quite well. Devio getting involved. And there's Ebby Sand and King playing it amongst themselves. Perlo now getting involved. And there is Devio. Makes it 1-0 to Asta. They go forward looking for a second. Yellow card handed out. And Ebby Sand with his 5th of the season makes it 1-1. And Dudley turn it around. Rio Ferdinand makes it 2-1 at half time. And
Ebby Sand, Fifey, was someone that Dragons tried to get really early on in the save. What's he done kind of across the save? Because I think he's just sat in reserves for absolutely donkeys.
He has. He sort of gets brought in, so he started at Sloths, and then Rob kind of dropped him, didn't really want to play him. And then he essentially didn't play that year, didn't feature for 2 years, and then Dudley took him.
Yeah. I think he's class early doors.
Let's bring up the match stats then, Ian. And Dudley had a bit of a scare, but probably deservedly turned it around just before half-time.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel like Asta scored in a period of dominance, did it? So, no surprise that Dudley Hill came back into it. Maybe a surprise where the second goals come from, perhaps. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, a good away team. Always have been a good away team, Dudley Hill. It's one of those where, like, I always feel the same with Fulchester. Sometimes I think Fulchester are a better away team than they are a home team sometimes, and you can never switch off against these guys.
I've got the Asta stats on the screen, Dimble. It's not bad looking, to be fair, throughout. Ambrosini's struggling a little bit, which is surprising because he's normally one of the more consistent players. Rossini and Franca, though, needing a bit more from them boys.
Yeah, Franco was his talisman for the first half of the season, and Devio's taken over that role, but be disappointed to see him not really be involved in any shape or form. And Rossini, I don't think he's done much for Alpha really early. I think he had a promising start-ish, and then he's definitely dropped off. He's been on the bench a few times as well, so yeah, he needs to get more out of him as one of his better players.
Alf going as is till 60. Duggan, let's bring the defending champion stats up on the screen. Very similar. It's good without being spectacular. They've got a few players on 8s, ranging down to 6s, but a solid team performance.
Yeah, really solid, and still with effectively playing with 10 because look at Tony hasn't turned up again. So it wouldn't surprise us to see him hook Tony and go Mackay or drop Mackay back to AMC or go to AMC with Sand.
Where do you stand on the whole Luca Tony debate? Because he obviously was instrumental in winning them the league last year, but has done exactly nothing for Dudley this year. Do you think he should have been allowed to stay out on loan at Churchtown and go without?
I don't know, because this might not be 100% right, and Steve might be able to kind of put us right on this, but I think Dudley had a little bit of a wobble kind of game week 12, 13, and Luca got the kind of brunt of it because he wasn't scoring. I think he was there kind of, like kind of 2 in 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever. But actually, I think it was more to do with the team. So I think, he's going to start every game, I think, for him. Because why wouldn't you?
We have kicked off the second half as we approach the hour mark. Still 2-1 to the defending champions. But Asta have caused a couple of problems as we reach the hour mark. when you look at the subs, I'm never overly enthused in when I look at the Aston bench, but Landon Donovan has got a history of scoring dramatic goals. Could this be another moment for him?
Yeah, I mean, the only one you bring him on for there really though is Rossini, isn't it? I guess because Deval's got the goal. Frank is
Do you maybe
out
put
man.
De Vaio or Franca out wide and swap him for Pirlo?
Right. I mean, if Pirlo's coming out, I mean, yeah, there's other things you can probably do there, isn't there? I don't know. I mean, Lundberg has to go out there, really, doesn't he? As an RLC, but and maybe someone else goes over on the right. But I mean, I think you kind of want to hide into nothing, sticking Pirlo out there in the first place because the bench doesn't give you anywhere to go. Really, I'd almost be tempted to put the Placente over there as a left-sided player rather than Pirlo. In all honesty, yeah, the bench doesn't give you an awful lot to go off, does it? I don't know. Maybe that's why Alf takes so long over his changes because his bench is horrendous.
I feel like Lundberg had a really good game on the left recently. I think he got like a 9 or 10 from the left, and then he's found himself on the right tonight. And he's got Salihamidzic on the bench, so it seems a strange one to play Pirlo out there. But obviously, Alf's at a stage where everything he does is tested on the game, so it must have worked for him.
And Duggan, I'm presuming at this stage you're hoping Dudley hang on because the least competition you've got to challenge for the top 6 is the ideal situation for you.
Yeah, and a draw wouldn't be bad. So, even if Alf gets back into this and it's the draw specialist gets a 2s each, it's better than when they scored the 1 and went 1-0 up and I was fearing the worst.
So Alf's gone Emerson higher, Salihamidzic, the infamous right wing back essentially, coming on at left defensive midfield for Placente, and then Donovan coming on for Rossini.
What?
Who was that said what? Was that you, Ian, or was that Dimble?
No, it was me. Is that right? That's not right? Is it? I'm not. I've got the chat on, so
the message says Emerson higher, so I've moved him into centre mid. Sally for Placente, and Donovan for Rossini.
Yeah.
I'd say that and go. Otherwise, it'd be all night. That is the words he's put on the screen. So
that's okay as well. Is the confirmation
unless he's been hacked.
As for Dudley Hill, they're pretty much where they were at half time. Lizarazu never manages to last 90 minutes without dropping into the 70s, but he is always asked to work very hard on that left-hand side, so maybe it's understandable. Dimble, as someone who's got their cue, with a couple of games to go, how conscious are you now of yellow cards and avoiding suspensions?
I'm very conscious of it, but I don't really know how to avoid it. My substitution was based on the fact that Brugink has got 3 cards already, so I was just protecting him. So yeah, I am conscious of it, but like I said, I don't know what the best way to do it is. I might talk to someone who's done it before because I've got no clue.
So Steve went as is, and the worst possible situation for Alf is he makes the changes and then De Vaio gets himself injured. So Taribo West, the only available outfield player, will certainly be coming on. But how does he rejig this, Duggan?
Does he push? I mean, Emerson, he's had Emerson as an EMC before, hasn't he? So does he go Emerson for West, swap with Franca, and drop West into Ambrosini and MC and Brown into DM, West centre half? Sorry, that made no sense.
I think so. If I've got that, and I'll be impressed if I've got this right, what you're suggesting would be that,
yeah,
and then like that.
Or
did I miss one of these two moving forward?
West for Brown.
Like that?
Yeah, that's probably the best he can do, I think.
Let's see how close you were to getting that right.
You might need more than onion rings to get through this.
They're hitting the spot, though, because you're right, I love onion rings.
They're unreal. In a crisp sandwich with the crusts cut off and loads of butter, onion rings are fucking great. Crushed up.
You got time to go make a full roast if you want one.
Alf's just said okay. I think he's going with your suggestion, Duncan.
To be fair, it was a good suggestion.
I think Alp was agreeing with the onion rings comment.
We'll just take this. We'll take it as a tactical change.
When I first mentioned it at kickoff,
Alf was agreeing that we should reboot because the save's corrupted.
let's carry on then. And still crucial this, and the next goal absolutely vital for so many teams. Astor, they're going close. We'll slow it down for the last 12 plus injury time. Given
it'd be funny if Duggan's tactical change ends up costing them.
And there's Youngberg. Franca! He scores!
Oh!
And Astor have levelled it up with 10 minutes to go. Can they now get a winner?
Emerson with the winner in the MC.
And now Sand, Tony. Emerson gets in the way. 3 minutes to be added on. Absolutely nothing happening. And now Emerson, Ambrosini, Franca. And now Honsho Salihamidzic. Free kick though. Shay Given's done well since getting into the Astor side, it has to be said. And there's the final whistle. And it ends Astor Athletic 2, Dudley Hill 2, which I think gives Dudley the cue. I think it rules Dudley out of finishing second. And does it keep Astor alive, or are they out of it? We'll have to review.
Keeps Astor alive. Yeah, they're on 29 with 6 to play, so they could still finish on 35.
And it has to be said, fair play to Astor, because at times they were under pressure, but they stayed very much in it, didn't they, Ian? And probably deserved a draw in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it felt a little bit chaotic, but they kind of pulled it together. It's the best you can say with what they had. I think to say 2-2, is it a fair result? I'm not so sure. I thought Dudley felt they'd done enough, especially being the away team. But certainly Astor were never going to be getting 3 points there. So yeah, a draw was the best they could probably hope for. And everyone sort of turned up and done a decent job for him. There's the only 6 is the substituted guy with half an hour to go. So maybe they have played a little bit better than I'm giving them credit for.
And Dimble, much like I said about Churchtown, it always feels like a team performance with Astor when they get a result like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, credit to Alf. He's got 29 points, and that's probably about 10 more than I expected him to get. And I thought he'd sneak a draw tonight because he's been doing it all season, hasn't he, against a top 4 side, and he's done it again. He's been doing it all season.
He certainly has. As for Dudley Hill, Vogel getting man of the match, dominating that midfield on his own. A couple of other notable performances from the likes of Abiati and Good Johnson. It was all right, wasn't it, Duggan? But you look at, are you expecting against, and with all due respect, but against a side like Astor, are you expecting some of these bigger players to really stand up and be pulling in 8 and 9 rated performances and forcing the win for Dudley Hill?
I'm a big believer that an away point in the Super League, regardless of who it's against, I think I've heard Edward say this 101 times, but I think an away point in the Super League, regardless of who against, is solid, and you take it and move on. And again, Steve's effectively played with 10 men there because Luca Tony again has done nothing. So he's probably the biggest choice he's got to do next game is whether kind of Roy Mackay comes in instead of Tony and maybe changes up the shape a little bit. But we've got Dudley next, so it's amazing how this game just scrambles your head, because straight away I was looking at those 3 yellow cards, jumping on my phone to look at the YouTube stream, going back to your preview of Steve's squad and tactic and seeing if any of those yellow cards matched up with the ones he's got tonight to see if he's got any suspensions. And we're like 48 hours away from game day, so fuck this game at times.
That leads us nicely on to the final game of the show, and we have the league leaders, Haggis Hunters, away at Sloths. Cordoba injured, Santa Cruz injured, so not involved. Bruno not in the squad. Smith dropped from the squad entirely. But the change that I was most interested in, and Duggan, I'd like your comments please, is Ryan Giggs drops to the bench, having played in every game so far this season, for a defensive midfielder to play out on the left wing.
Yeah, it didn't spy that. It's a bit of a weird one. I'm sure there's a reason. Is he kind of trying to protect Giggs a little bit for any kind of playoff running? Has he had any yellow cards this season, Fifey, Giggs? Is he on like a kind of an odd number of suspensions? Is he coming up to a yellow?
2.
2, yeah. So he's well away off that. But yeah, I do wonder if I think a point tonight seals first for Haggis. Is that right, Fifey?
All right.
Sorry, mate. You just eat your tea. You committed and you've done the deed tonight. So what's that?
So
44,
Fulchester won, didn't they? So that's 44.
6 to play. A win tonight would get them top, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, certainly an interesting change. Makoku obviously scored on his debut last time out, and Viduka back up top with Kesas this one. Crucially and interestingly, Dimble, Jeremy's back in the team for this one as well.
Yeah, I'm not surprised he's not dropped, but rested a big player or two. Makes sense to have a look at what he's got in Kobiashvili. Yeah,
Kobiashvili, yeah.
And
it's funny that I'm quite confident with my pronunciation of Kobiashvili, but I still won't try and pronounce the guy at Dragons.
To be fair, it was more trying to see it on my phone and
not knowing who the
fuck he is, because no one knows who he is, basically. But yeah, he's obviously that back three has been talked about all season, and it is absolutely flawless. I think. So you got your left-footed beast of a centre back, got your right-footed beast of a centre back, and you got an absolute workhorse in Jeremis who's not let him down ever. So yeah, that's the basis of what he's done well this season, and he's got the attacking players to go with it.
And Ian, you've obviously got interested in this as you still try and fight your way off the bottom. Sloths make one change from the side that lost to Gazelles, and it's Danielson returns into centre midfield in place of, I think it was Harbuzi. Yeah, in place of Harbuzi, and Rakoba gets a place on the bench.
I mean, it's a strengthened move, isn't it? I mean, Harbuzi probably a little bit lightweight for Super League central midfield. Whether or not Danielson in that role is the man to replace him, it is an upgrade, but how much of an upgrade, I'm not so sure. But yeah, pretty much like for like, matching each other up formation-wise, man for man. Obviously, Haggis, got the better 9 or 10 out of the 11. And the guy who comes in for Haggis, the Georgian fella, is up against Lamy, who's actually had a decent season for Spartak, and he's absolutely rapid. So maybe that's where they could get some joy. I don't know.
Well, let's find out. And for the last time this evening, I go down the line. Dimble?
I'm going to go 1-3.
1-3. Duggan?
I fancy Sloths to get a result, yeah. And I want them to get a result just to see if Campbell starts to squeak a little bit under the pressure, because I know he's 11 unbeaten at the minute. I'm going to go Sloths 2-1.
And Ian?
1-1.
Let's find out. Again, final game this evening. Thank you everyone who joined throughout this Friday night stream. Apologies, it is 24 or more like 26 and a half hours late. I do apologise, but I hope you've all enjoyed a bit of Friday night football. The guys, including Scott, who joined on for multiple co-coms, I much appreciate it. As Christian Kivu in 35 minutes goes off injured, Valgarin the obvious replacement there. Let's go straight back into the action. Haggis looked to be... There it is, and it's Duff with his 5th of the season to give the league leaders a 1-0 lead. But hits straight back Amoroso on 44. Levels things up for the home side. And are they going to get a second before half-time? No, the whistle goes. And Haggis looked to me, and I would say, Dimble, stats suggest they were slightly the better side, but Sloths did well to come back quite quickly after going a goal behind.
They did, yeah. Quick reply is always good, and they looked quite dangerous. But yeah, Haggis have edged it, and I wouldn't be, I'd be expecting them to kind of kick on second half unless Hodgie can do something here.
Well, neither manager in the chat, so we'll just very briefly look at the stats. Again, it's one of those games. Ningmatulin, I've mentioned it a few times, despite Sloths being near the bottom of the table, and I've said it about Vesterveld as well, I actually think he deserves to be in the conversation for goalkeeper of the year, don't you, Duggan?
Yeah, I do. I really like him. I had him for one of me concepts in Swemp, but I think he's been probably the best performing version of himself this season that I've seen, really, against the side that, for obvious reasons, concede a lot of chances.
Oh, Ian is here to make changes for Haggis. Let's go over to the away side stats then. And it looks quite solid, that Dimble.
Yeah, it's business as usual, really, from a ratings point of view. I think you are missing Giggs, which is understandable, but Kobayashi doing an okay job.
There's a lot of low numbers.
Much.
A lot of low numbers for the likes of Mendieta and Duff and Casas and Makoku in terms of touches of the ball.
Yeah, he's not got those creative players on the ball at all, really. So yeah, that's where he'll look to improve. Maybe the 4 and the 4 is kind of cancelling each other out here.
Just to correct Ian, who I do apologise, I didn't realise you were still with us, but you weren't here from the start because you missed the 10 minutes of us taking the piss. Del Piero coming on for Taunton is the change. Giggs also coming on for Kobayashi, as we go with something that more resembles the full strength Haggis 11 for the second half. Ian, you are more than welcome to join the commentary for post-match reaction. The link is in the chat if you want to come on and say hi at the very end of the show. 55 minutes, still 1-1. Haggis still look dangerous. And there's the goal for Mendieta, 2-1 to the home side. As Sloths go for another quick reply. Cambiasso there, rating 9, showing anything Jeremies can do, he can do just as well. But without Hodgie here, let's go straight to the Haggis ratings. There's no obvious fitness concerns there, Ian. You've been in these situations before, both pro and con. When a team gets in a situation like Haggis are in, they just always find a way to win, don't they?
Are you asking me, mate?
Yes, mate. Northern Burn have been on these runs before.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was a little bit surprised that a Gig's not starting. I know the lads were saying it makes sense to rest a couple of sort of star players, and I know that, like Dimble mentioned earlier on, he might seek some counsel on what to do in these situations going forward and how to combat certain situations. For me, it's just stick your strongest 11 out where available. If someone ends up not being available for you, then you test your squad out. So a little surprised to see, the likes of Giggs, Del Piero on the bench, but then not a surprise to see them come on at 45 just to see the game out. Just be as strong as you can at all times.
Well, we know that Steve couldn't join the commentary team because he was playing Happy Families. We now know that Mr. Campbell can't join the commentary team because he also has a visitor around for the evening. So we do hope that Ian and his company are enjoying tonight's Super League entertainment as he confirms. Yes, that's fine. That he's going to roll as is. Let's continue on with this final game and see if Sloths can make a game of it by scoring a second equaliser. They are trying. Let's just slow it down a little bit. Last game, only 1 goal in it. Anything could yet happen. Haggis trying to keep Burns season alive for you, Ian.
Yeah, appreciate that, Ian.
Into the final 10, into the final 5. Valgarin and Stam exchanging the ball. Danielson, but Stam again does his job well. Valgarin's working very hard since coming onto the pitch. Cambiasso now. Still Cambiasso. Casillas with the save. Corner kick to Sloths. Valgarin with the header. And it is all Sloths. Amoroso. And our Haggis going to go up the other end? No, Shane Tolley picks it up now. Valgarin, Danielson, over the bar. 1 last chance maybe. Free kick awarded. Mendieta takes it. Cambiasso blocks it. There's the full-time whistle. And it ends. Haggis guaranteed top spot.
Well done,
With a
Ian.
win away at Sloths, and they create a lot of chances in that second half and come away with a deserved win. But it didn't look like it was guaranteed, did it, Dimble? Sloths were putting the pressure on.
They put the pressure on a bit. They created some chances, but Haggis held firm, and the Haggis train rolls on. Very impressive stuff again.
Haggis holding firm tonight might not be the only time that's said. Let's have a look at the home side stats, Duggan. And again, Nigmatulin, the standout player. Amoroso doing well. They do miss Pizarro, though, don't they?
Yeah, and I think, look, we all know where the limitations are with the Sloth squad, and no person knows that more than Hodgie, and it is just about having those kind of quality players at that final third. They've created chances, but just haven't finished them, really. And just in terms of the season, fair fucks to Hodgie again for kind of handing Devils over to Rob. It could have been great, but both of them probably have not had it how they hoped this season.
Good night, Steve, who doesn't even want to see the league table. He's off to finish his game of Battleships.
He's not even stayed to see his red queue. That's disgraceful.
It's just piss poor, isn't it?
And I think the mother-in-law's there as well, so she's must have went to bed if he's leaving us. So he's going to play Battle Sax now.
Dimble, it's very impressive ratings. That nines, there's 3 9s there, a whole host of 8s as well. And as you say, Haggis just continue to roll on.
Yeah, very impressive, as I said. Even Casillas has turned up this season, hasn't he? Let's hope he saves a couple of those stinkers for a playoff match or two.
We're getting into Casillas time now, aren't we? Casillas.
This is where he does turn up, isn't it? Well,
I don't know. I've never known him get amazing, but yeah, if that's the case, then fair play. He's kept him around, even though he's not great.
In previous versions of the save, it was well documented that he would generally drop himself to number 2 goalkeeper until playoff season came around, and then he would be the number 1 goalkeeper.
Yeah, I know he was. He took time in terms of the season, not the save. Yeah, okay, yeah. I know Ryan really likes him as a big match keeper. Yeah, that's true.
So let's have a quick look at the classifiers. We had Astor 2, Dudley 2, Bostock 0, Leddersford 2, Churchtown 2, Devils 0, Dragons 5, Gazelles 2, Fulchester 3, Northern Burn 1, Halls 3, Loco 0, and Sloths 1, Haggis 2. That leaves the league table looking like this, and we have Haggis top of the league, 6 points clear of Fulchester. So top is not guaranteed yet. They need 1 more point. Churchtown, though, congratulations, Dimble, on officially getting your cue. Tato joins us at the very end of the show. Welcome, mate. Yes, Fujini did score. Congratulations, Dudley Hill, who claimed their point as well. And can technically still finish second, but Churchtown and Fulchester would have to both lose their remaining 2 fixtures. Halls and Devils remain in the top 6, but yet to qualify. Halls, however, are all but there, let's be honest. Dragons now, one of 2 sides within 2 points of breaking into it, alongside Loco. Ian, looking at the table as it is now, I mean, you can't rule Leddersford out yet either, 30 points. Realistically, I mean, I know Astor is still in with a chance, but realistically, you're thinking it's got to be one of those 4. Who would your money be on at this point?
Oh, crikey. I mean, Leddersford, inconsistent. Locomotive, Boston, feel like they're on the slide. I like the way Dragons have kind of plugged away and haven't let it get to them. They've kind of maintained quite a level head and cracked on with that little bit of hope. So it feels.
I'm sure if you were to ask a few other people at times this season, Duggan certainly hasn't had a level head.
No, but they've not it's not done out daft. They've not put out daft formations, daft teams. There's always been that. You can always see. There's always been some common sense to what they've tried to do. Tried to win games. They might not have come off, but they're the ones who look like they could probably take Devils, if anybody. Having said that, Astor have still got to play Northern Burn, so there's 3 points for Astor. Yes. Other than that, though, I don't know. Yeah, there's probably only Dragons taking the Devils for me.
Okay. As we look from the bottom then, Burn on 19, Sloths 21, so that's going to go to the final day pretty much. Bostock 26, Gazelles 28, Astor 29. A look ahead to Sunday's games. Dudley Hill at home to Sloths, Gazelles, Churchtown, Haggis versus Dragons. Absolutely massive. Ledisford versus Astor. Huge game. Loco doesn't get easy for them, does it? At home to Fulchester. Burn are away to Bostock. And look at that game. 6th versus 5th. Devils versus Halls. And then Thursday, the regular season concludes with Astor Burn, Bostock Loco, Dragons Dudley. What a running you've got, Duggan. Fulchester Devils, Gazelles Haggis, Halls Churchtown. Halls have got a hard one as well. And Sloths versus Ledisford. Let me conclude with a quick question to all of you then, starting with you if I can, Ian. Looking at the remaining fixtures, are you confident you will get off the bottom?
Confident? No. Do I think I will? Very possibly.
Okay. So, Dimble, I'll come to you next. Looking at the remaining fixtures, can you or will you claim second?
No, I don't think I will, but we're going to give it a go. I'm not going to be putting weakened teams out or anything like that, but it's looking very unlikely. I think Fulchester to not win a game out of those two is unlikely.
Okay, and then Duggan, top 6 for Dragons, yes or no?
No.
It would be a shame.
But what I would say is probably 10 games ago, we looked like we were absolutely nowhere near, and we did some good business in that bonus window. And like Ian says, I appreciate the comments he's made. We try to keep our heads a little bit. And if we don't do it, at least we've done it by trying to do it the right way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We haven't bored the tits off people this season, and I think with one season left of the save, we've tried to be interesting. But if we win both games, we get there. But we're probably not going to beat Haggis and Dudley.
Well, I didn't manage to conclude the round of fixtures before Saturday came. So I'm not going to have any dinner, but I am maybe going to go and have some breakfast. I would like to thank Scott, thank Dimble, thank Duggan, and thank Ian for their time on comms this evening. Very much appreciated. Thank you to everyone who's joined in the chat. Packs will be out later today, but I need to eat something and get some sleep first. So from me at Super League HQ, co-coms will obviously be open for Sunday night games, the penultimate round of league fixtures. Drop me a message if you're interested. But until then, a very good night.
Cheers, boys.
Bye.